I am Dr. Ray Dykes, and this is the Personal Faith Program, a series of podcasts on personal faith with a passion, how to know what you really believe. This podcast is entitled, Is It Time to Fire Your Old God? You worked like fury to make the bucks, buy the house, trade in the cars, have the babies, earn the raises, and get the promotions. Now you find that it all rusts and needs painting again. You want to give up the chase, but what would you replace it with? You suspect that God would tell you if you knew how to listen. You want peace and serenity. You want the kind of beauty that cannot be bought. You want a purpose. You want to be a better person. You want to love more fully and with less self-interest. You believe in some deep, quiet place within you that God can give you all that. You may be tired of feeling guilty before God. You may not want to be bound anymore by other people's rules and ideas. You may not want to become nutty and weird. You may not want to live a joyous life. You may not want more expectations and obligations than you can meet. You may not want to be turned into the kind of person who mouths pieties and speaks in holy jargon. You could believe that God is such a clumsy creator or so inept at transformation that God is trying to force you into being someone other than yourself. You might believe that God is only as other people see God, or that God is only as you see God, or that there's only one concept of the nature of God. This last thought may cause you to think that the God you believed in at age 6 or 16 or 60 is the one you must force yourself to believe in the rest of your life. One of the most damaging misunderstandings about the nature of God is that God is the same for everyone. The parable of the blind man and the elephant shows that you believe in the part of God you can touch, but you can't touch all the parts. As you go through life, you may often change your ideas about God as you experience new things and build your personal faith with a passion. That means that you may have to fire your old God and hire a new one. You need the clay of your own experience to make the belief bricks of personal faith. In working with that clay, you learn that experience is spiritually valid. Your experiences validate your faith. And what you haven't experienced, your hope validates your faith. It's important to acknowledge your experiences and what it means to you about God. Daddy took me with him to the hardware feed and seed store in Tylertown one spring day. I was 6 years old. While he was hunting whatever he needed, I stood at the front counter near a bag of seed corn. It feels so good to run seed corn through your fingers. Being springtime in the deep south, it was hot outside and my hands were sweaty. Unbeknownst to me, 2 kernels of seed corn stuck to the palm of my hand and wound up in my pocket. When we got home, I discovered my sin. I had stolen 2 kernels of seed corn from the Tylertown hardware feed and seed store, though I hadn't meant to. Overcome with guilt but determined not to be found out, I undid the latch on the dining room window screen and furtively dropped those 2 kernels on the ground outside. Our house didn't have gutters. There was a trough on that side of the house where the rainwater fell off the roof. The items I had stolen came to rest in that trough. As the spring progressed, 2 stalks began to rise past the dining room windowsill. It became the topic of conversation each evening at the dinner table. The rest of the family thought it was some sort of miracle. I refused to look at the evidence of my sin. As spring turned into summer, ears of corn appeared on both stalks. The table conversation turned to when the ears would be ripe unto harvest. One summer day during a thunderstorm, Daddy was standing at the window drooling over the prospects of eating that homegrown corn when a bolt of lightning struck a tree on that side of the house, bounced over and fried both corn stalks, and shocked Daddy. When I heard what had happened, I knew that God had rendered judgment on me for my sin of stealing. I lived for a long time in mortal fear of accidentally taking anything that didn't belong to me. The idea of intentionally stealing anything from anybody was not even in the realm of possibility. The God of judgment had my number and was watching my every move. Plenty of folks will be ready to tell you that you don't have the authority to know whether God really is as your experience tells you God is. Some theologians and some clergy may be especially eager to tell you that you must accept their experiences and ideas. Lay people of all faiths will also be willing to dispute your beliefs. That's all right. They don't have to believe what you do, but you may have to let go of some of the ways you once believed in order to embrace your new growing faith. It won't be easy, but what you're doing is exactly what the Apostle Paul did. It's what Augustine did. It's what many great religious leaders have done to reach God in new and deeper ways. But you may desperately need the great intangible gifts that God has made available to you since you were born. God's love, peace of mind, calmness of spirit, patience, and wisdom are but a few of the gifts at your disposal on a daily basis as you make your belief bricks and build your spiritual house of faith. The trick is to learn your personal way of accepting these gifts and using them and passing them on. It takes courage to fire your old God and hire a new one. You can make marks on the graph that's provided in the workbook that shows what your experience tells you about the nature of God. There are many different attributes and on spectra here. And so when you answer these, when you deal with these issues of the aspects of God, the different attributes of God, then it continues the discussion of emotions engendered as you think about God. See you next time.